The civil rights movement really died on April 4th, 1968.
The civil rights movement died? I mean, because MLK was assassinated, the civil rights movement died on that day? Okay.
New life was breathed into it in 1984, but it still wasn't.
New life was breathed into it until 1984. Between 1968 and 1984, no civil rights. There was no civil rights movement. MLK died, and that was just it. Flatlined, no progress. All right.
But it still wasn't a civil rights movement. The LA riots of 1992, the Million Man March, the Million Women March. Neither really had legs. And then, of course,
on this day, we gather because we have chosen hope over fear.
That didn't constitute a civil rights movement either.
Barack Obama getting elected didn't account for a civil rights movement either? Okay.
The contemporary civil rights movement unfolded directly in response to the murder of Trayvon Martin.
The murder of Trayvon Martin? You know the man was found not guilty, George Zimmerman, the man who shot and killed him.
State of Florida versus George Zimmerman. Verdict, we the jury find George Zimmerman not guilty. So say we all four-person.
And you know that the jurors, at least the ones who spoke publicly, including the black alternate juror, said race had nothing whatever to do with the death of Trayvon Martin. This is from the Orlando Sentinel. Headline, George Zimmerman jury applauded by male alternate. The Orlando Sentinel in that headline did not point out that the male alternate is black. He was called E54, the black male alternate. Quote, E54, an alternate, was disappointed that he didn't get to deliberate on the verdict. And the reporter who interviewed E54 said, and I'm quoting, he supports the verdict and believes the jury did their job. He wishes the country would just accept the verdict. He hopes we can come together for the sake of peace. He believes this was not a racial case. End of quote. Now, Real Clear Politics did identify E54 as a black male. Check out this headline. Black alternate juror for Zimmerman trial. I supported the verdict. What does our current out-of-control inflation look like? Well, it looks like paying 47% more for fuel than a year ago. It looks like paying 41% more for the same used vehicle if you buy it this year instead of last. It looks like paying almost 10% more to feed your family. It looks like every dollar in your savings is worth less than it was a year ago. Hedge against the US dollar by investing in something with real value, gold and silver from Birch Gold. Precious metals have historically been a safe haven in times of inflation, and Birch Gold is the leader in converting IRAs and 401ks into a tax-sheltered IRA backed by silver and gold. With thousands of satisfied customers and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, Birch Gold can help you protect your savings. Just go to birchgold.com/Larry now to get a no-cost, no-obligation info kit. This comprehensive 20-page guide reveals how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can buy them under the umbrella of a tax-sheltered account. So, do it right now. Go to birchgold.com/Larry. That's BIRCHgold.com/Larry.
Sanford Police Department. Line is being recorded. Sean.
Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. He looks black.
Did you see what he was wearing?
A dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and he's got something in his...
Obviously, the man is a racist. By the way, the person narrating this video is Henry Louis Skip Gates. He is the man who came back from vacation shortly after the Obama administration started, goes to his home in Cambridge, forgets his door key. He and the driver break into his own house. Neighbor sees it, calls 911. Don't you want your neighbors to do that? White cop shows up and very politely asks Mr. Gates to come out of the house, bring ID, and prove he belongs to the house. Instead of doing that, he copped an attitude and said something like, if your mama tells me to come out, I'll come out. Really? And what does Obama do? I'll tell you what Obama should have done. Because they've known each other for years. They're friends. Obama should have said, last night I had a long conversation with my friend Skip Gates. I said, Skip, you're a tenured professor from Harvard, for crying out loud. You are by definition a role model. Here you are defying a cop's lawful, polite order for you to identify yourself and make sure you belong to the house. What kind of message are you sending to young black men, many of whom do not comply with the police, which is why we often get these kinds of incidents? And I told Skip that he behaved badly, behaved improperly. And Skip said to me, Barack, if I had to do it all over again, I would have behaved differently. That's what Obama should have said. That's the kind of conversation that should have taken place. Instead, what does Obama say?
That the Cambridge police acted stupidly.
And unfortunately, throughout the 8 years of Obama's presidency, when things like this happened, he picked up the race card and played it time and time again.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
And then there was the reference to Ferguson, even though hands up, don't shoot was a complete and total lie.
I realize that America's critics will be quick to point out that at times we too have failed to live up to our ideals, that America has plenty of problems within its own borders. This is true. In a summer marked by instability in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, I know the world also took notice of the small American city of Ferguson, Missouri.
And then this business about saying that racism is in America's DNA.
What is also true is that the legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination in almost every institution of our lives, that casts a long shadow. And that's still part of our DNA.
Is this the same guy who told Steve Croft of 60 Minutes, if I don't win, it won't be because of race?
You think the country's ready for a black president?
Yes.
You don't think it's going to hold you back?
No. I think if I don't win this race, it will be because of other factors. It's going to be because I have not shown to the American people a vision for where the country needs to go that they can embrace.
Is this the same guy who in 2007 said as far as race relations are concerned, we're 90% of the way there?
The previous generation, the Moses generation, pointed the way. They took us 90% of the way there, but we still got that 10% in order to cross over to the other side.
He embraced Black Lives Matter, whose founders claim that they are trained Marxists?
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
The whole civil rights movement was based upon Judeo-Christian principles. And trained Marxists? Karl Marx wanted to dethrone God.
In his early poem, Invocation of One in Despair, Marx wrote of his intent to take revenge on God. So a God has snatched from me my all. In the curse and rack of destiny, all his words are gone beyond recall. Nothing but revenge is left to me. On myself revenge I'll proudly wreak. On that being, that enthroned Lord, make my strength a patchwork of what's weak. Leave my better self without reward. I shall build my throne high overhead. Cold, tremendous shall its summit be. For its bulwark, superstitious dread. For its marshal, blackest agony. Writing to his father, Marx described the changes he was experiencing. Quote, "A curtain has fallen. My holiest of holies was ripped apart, and new gods had to be set in their place. A true unrest has taken mastery of me, and I will not be able to calm the excited spirits until I am in your dear presence." In his poem, The Pale Maiden, Marx wrote, "Thus heaven I've forfeited. I know it full well. My soul, once true to God, is chosen for hell.
Well, that's all for today's Larry Elder on YouTube. We're now showing a shorter version of our show on YouTube. That's after being censored and demonetized for a whole year. Full episode can be watched on our website, epictv.com/Larry Elder. That's epictv.com/Larry Elder. You can also find out where to watch our show live on cable in your city at ntd.com/TV. All the links are in the description down below.